Welcome to the Crop Insurance Podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of crop insurance. I'm your host, Mike Rydell, a third-generation crop insurance agent, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this educational journey. At our family-owned and operated business, we've been providing crop insurance expertise for generations. Our goal here is simple, to educate our listeners. Crop insurance can be complex and overwhelming, but I believe that understanding it is crucial for every farmer. So whether you're a seasoned farmer looking to stay updated or a newcomer seeking guidance, this podcast is for you. Welcome to today's podcast, brought to you by Crop West Insurance Incorporated, your agent-friendly crop insurance group. Are you a crop insurance agent looking to elevate your business to new heights? Look no further than Crop West Insurance. With over 60 years of industry knowledge and a dedicated team of consultants across multiple states, they specialize in helping agents like you grow your agency. From personalized marketing plans to in-depth educational meetings, they are here to support you every step of the way. Join Crop West Insurance today and unlock a world of opportunity for your agency. For more information, please head on over to their website at cropwestinsurance.com. Crop West Insurance Incorporated is an equal opportunity provider and employer. Welcome to the Crop Insurance Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rydell. Today, we're going to be discussing part 3 of our Whole Farm Revenue Protection series, where we'll touch a little bit more on whole farm revenue protection. But the main focus of this episode is to discuss the micro farm program. So we'll discuss what it is, who can buy it, when you can buy it, how it works, and how that all compares to whole farm revenue protection. If you haven't already listened to part 1 and part 2 of our whole farm revenue protection series, I would advise you to go back and listen to those, as there's a lot of insight in those episodes that's transferable to this micro farm program discussion as well. So, without further ado, let's jump in and start talking about the microfarm program. For starters, what is the microfarm program? Well, microfarm is very similar to whole farm revenue protection in how it works, where you're going to take your allowable revenue and your coverage level, and you're going to come up with your guarantee, and there's some rules in there, just like whole farm revenue protection, in terms of what those numbers are going to look like. And then at the end of the year, you're going to look at your actual revenue, compare it to your guarantee. You either have a loss or you don't have a loss. Now, the premium is subsidized, just like whole farm revenue protection. There's just some differences in what those subsidies are, when they kick in, and how you can qualify for the various levels. So who can buy the program? Just like whole farm revenue protection, you need to be eligible to receive federal benefits. You're going to have a Schedule F or some sort of Schedule F substitute in order to come up with your history, to come up with your allowable revenue or your approved revenue. Now, the difference here is with microfarm program, you don't need 5 years of history, 5 years of Schedule Fs or Schedule F substitutes. You only need 3. Now, keep in mind, when I say 3, the most recent tax year is the lag year, so we're not counting that year. It's the 3 previous to that. So really you need 4. Meaning if you're signing up for the 2025 crop year, 2024 would be the lag year. So you would need 2023, 2022, and 2021. Whereas with whole farm revenue protection, you would also need that 2020, unless you are a new producer or sign up under the Veteran Farmer Program. Those are the only ways you can get away with not having that extra year under whole farm revenue protection. Whereas in the microfarm program, you only need those 3 years, obviously plus your lag year. So keep that in mind, as that's a great tool for it. Now with whole farm revenue protection, they're going to look at your maximum insured revenue of $17 million. Just a quick refresher, your insured revenue is your approved revenue times your coverage level. So the maximum with whole farm revenue, again, $17 million. Now, when you look at the microfarm program, they don't go by the maximum insured revenue. They go by the maximum approved revenue. So that's before you take your coverage level into account. And the maximum approved revenue you can qualify for the microfarm program is $350,000. Now, if you're brand new to the program, it's $350,000. If you are already in the program and you're a carryover insured, the limitation on the approved revenue is $400,000 or less. So if you're brand new to it, $350,000. If you've been in the program, you go up to $400,000. At the end of the day, where your revenue sits at is going to help determine whether you are a good candidate for the microfarm program or whole farm revenue protection. Speaking of revenue, the microfarm program is intended to protect your farm against the loss of farm revenue that you expect to earn from or will get from the various commodities you produce during the insurance period, whether they are sold or not, commodities you buy for resale during the insurance period, and all commodities on the farm except timber, forest, and forest products and animals for sports or pets. In terms of when you can purchase this program or sign up for it in regards to the sales closing deadline, that will all depend on which type of filer you are, whether you are a calendar year filer, early fiscal year filer, or late fiscal year filer. That will determine when your sales closing deadline is, so be sure to check with your crop insurance agent or look it up in your county actuarials to see when that sales closing deadline occurs. How does the microfarm program work? Well, it works very much like whole farm revenue protection. Once you determined your approved revenue, you're then going to multiply that times your coverage level to come up with your insured revenue. So you're going to take that average of your Schedule Fs or Schedule F substitutes to come up with that approved revenue. Now, with whole farm revenue protection, there's limitations to how high of a coverage level you can go based on how many commodities you have. With the microfarm program, there is no minimum amount of commodities in order to qualify for different coverage levels. You have all coverage levels from 50 up to 85% available right out of the gate. Now, the subsidies for the microfarm program from the 50 to the 75% coverage level are at 80%. And again, that's your premium subsidy, how much the feds are paying of your premium. At the 80% coverage level, it's 71%. And at the 85, the max coverage level, it's at 56%. In looking at what the microfarm program costs in comparison to whole farm revenue protection, you do not have to take into account your underlying FCIC policies. In fact, you don't even have to have an underlying policy in order to fully take advantage of the microfarm program. It doesn't matter what coverage level you're at. If you have an underlying FCIC policy, it's not going to affect what your rate is or your subsidy level for the microfarm program. So that is a difference between the two programs in regards to the underlying FCIC policies. There is more to the microfarm program as you dive deeper into the policy. For the purposes of this podcast, we just wanted to introduce this concept as people that have listened to part 1 and 2 of our whole farm revenue protection series. They can kind of get turned away from the programs because they hear about that insured revenue ceiling of $17 million, and they start to think that they're a smaller operation that doesn't have that kind of revenue, so that there is maybe not a program out there for them. But there is. And since 2022, the microfarm program has been helping smaller operations with revenues of $350,000 or less for producers that are new to the program, or $400,000 or less for carryover insureds. And so it's just a really great program to help you mitigate your risk no matter what size your operation is. For more information on the Whole Farm Revenue Protection Program or the Microfarm Program, be sure to head over to our website at thecropinsurancepodcast.com. We have some articles there and some forms you can fill out to get in touch with us, and we'll be glad to walk through some quotes with you and help you understand what these different programs look like and how they can help out your operation. From my family to yours, thank you very much for listening. I sincerely hope that this presentation has been instrumental in enhancing your understanding of federal crop insurance. If If you find value in our podcast, we kindly encourage you to subscribe and spread the word among your friends and neighbors. To access further information, please visit our website at thecropinsurancepodcast.com, where you'll find the latest podcast episodes, articles, and exciting new features conveniently located in one place. This information is not all-inclusive and is meant to be used only as general guidelines for educational purposes. For additional information, please see crop provisions, reference the Crop Insurance Handbook or Loss Adjustment Manual, or contact your crop insurance agent. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.